Hi, today we're going to be making some mole in the kitchen, and I think that you will really enjoy this recipe. I wanted to take into consideration that possibly you might not be familiar with the level of difficulty that can be involved with mole, so I've tried to simplify it a little bit for you today so that it's something that your spouse will enjoy and will definitely have a lot of the similarities of mole, but it's not completely traditional. I will, in the future, add a more traditional mole recipe for those of you that would like to try something a little bit more advanced. But for today, we're going to do a simple mole. It's quick, it's easy, it's delicious. I know that it will be a big hit, and your spouse will definitely feel as though you have gone the extra mile to make something special for them. So the first thing that we're going to do, I've got my pan on medium heat, and I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, in the bottom of my pan. And I have already chopped up 1 yellow onion, 1 bell pepper, and 3 cloves of garlic. And I'm going to put those in the pan, and we want them to cook until the onions are translucent. So that's our first step. Let me get all of that in there. Alright, we got it all in there. Way to go. So that's what we will do first. And while that is cooking away, I've got to find something to stir it up with. That'll take just a couple minutes. You want to keep that on medium heat because you want to slowly sweat it. You don't want it to start to burn before it gets a chance to simmer down slowly. So we'll get that going, and as soon as that has got to where we want it to be, we'll move on to the next step. This has been simmering for about 5 minutes now, and it's ready for us to move on to the next step. I have some spices that I want to add to this now, and I want to add a teaspoon of cumin, 2 tablespoons of chili powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm just going to add that right in with our pepper and our onion and our garlic, and we're just going to let that mix up a little bit. And then the next thing I'm going to add to it, I'm going to add a can of diced tomatoes. Now I like to use the petite diced tomatoes, and we're just going to add that right to our mixture. Smells really good. I've got a can of chicken broth that I'm also going to add. And a cinnamon stick, 2 1-ounce cubes of bittersweet chocolate, and this is going to be I'm going to cut this open. And you'll want to cut that up just a little bit so that it melts up nice and easy in your pan. And I also have 2 chipotle chili peppers that I've also given a rough chop to, and I've added to the pan. And we're going to let that simmer up on my stove on medium heat for about 20 minutes. And I almost forgot my peanut butter. Good thing I remember that. This is 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. You can use crunchy or creamy. This happens to be creamy. And we're going to add that right in there too. And then we're going to just let this sit on the stove on medium heat, and all of those delicious flavors are going to simmer together. And after we get that 20 minutes passes, we'll move on to the next step. Alright, this has been simmering away for 20 minutes on medium-low heat. So I've had it on about 4. And we're ready to move on to our next step. I'm just going to remove it from the stove. I actually need to get ready for preparing the chicken, so I'm going to turn my heat on. I've got my rice cooking back here. If you'd like that recipe, it's on the website, Mexican rice. We're just going to pair it up with that tonight. But I've got my grill here, and I'm going to be doing some chicken on it in a minute, so I need to get that ready. Do a little swish of olive oil on my pan. Get that ready. And then we're going to come on over here. I'm going to take this sauce that I've made. I'm going to remove the cinnamon stick. Woo, that's hot. Woo, that's hot. And I'm going to ladle it into my blender. We want this to have a nice, smooth consistency. So we've got to blend it up. Let's see, maybe I can just pour it in. Yeah, it looks like I can just pour it in. I was a little nervous about that, but it looks like that'll work. Didn't want to get splashed. And I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on the blender and just blend that up for a minute. And when we get that blending done, we'll be right back. Okay, that's done. It's looking good. We're going to pour it back into our pot now. It's nice and smooth. Needs to be nice and smooth. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some raisins. And I bought the plum. These are the jumbo red flame grape raisins. And I'm going to add a couple of handfuls. And I also have some slivers of almond. Now you can use peanuts. Peanuts would probably be a little bit more traditional, some crushed up peanut. But I happen to have almonds, and I like to do it with almonds. So I'm adding, these are slivered almonds, and about a handful and a half. You don't have to be exact on that. I'm going to stir that back up. Let's see, check it out. Maybe I'm going to add just a few more raisins. I'm going to put this back on the stove on medium-low heat and let it cook for another 15 minutes. And while that cooks, I'm going to get started on the chicken. So come on back over here and we'll get going on the chicken.